guys, it's Tiffy Hustle or Tiffany, whatever you want to call me. Um, I'm back with another appraisal video. First and foremost, I just want to welcome all my new followers, all my new subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. It's been a minute since I've made a video. I know I was supposed to make another video 2 weeks after my last. But you guys, just with everything that's been going on in the world, I just really needed to step back and take a break. Mental health is very important, you guys. So I just had to take a breather. I took some time off work. I just needed a break. So I am back, and I am excited about this video. I actually started working on it before I went on my little hiatus. Just an aside, so I could not find my microphone today, so I hope this video sound quality is not completely trash, but I'm gonna try to project my voice as much as I can. Okay, so like as I said before, I went on my little break. I was speaking with one of my followers, and she brought up a good point. She was asking me if I can do kind of like an appraiser day-to-day type scenario, just so you can kind of get a feel of what it's like in the day of a life of a life of an appraiser. So I started doing that. So I kind of did like a little ride along because I did have a property to go out and look at. So I just want to give you the backstory to this home first, because it's kind of a unique situation. Not rare, but I think this is kind of a situation that I may deal with like maybe twice a year, but it's not that frequent. So this home, I was told was new construction. However, I didn't realize that it was still under construction until I talked to the Realtor, which it ended up being like a couple days before I went out and looked at the property. He let me know that it was still under construction, and they were still like at least like 60 days out from completion. So with that being said, I knew I had to do a lot more research than I would a normal appraisal, because it's like I'm gonna go in there and I really don't know what to expect because they're not finished with the house, so that kind of makes it tougher to make an assessment of what the value of the home is. So I had to do a lot of background research on the area, which it's a very nice area, very well sought after area. It's like golf course community, gated, beautiful, you guys, beautiful. So with all the research that I had to do, including talking to the Realtor, getting the specifications, looking over all of the documents that were sent to me, they sent in a lot of documents as far as a lot of the like the custom finishes that the home is going to have once it's completed. So looking over all of that, I had to do a market survey, researching the market just to kind of see what the values are in that area, as well as in that community, and the site location. I think this home, if I can remember, it did back to the golf course. So getting all the information for that, it took some time. Now, usually when you're doing a complete interior inspection, let me not call it an inspection, appraisal, and an interior appraisal, it's probably going to take you about one working business day. So like 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, maybe at the most. This one probably took me somewhere from like 12 to 14 hours, because the previous day I spent some hours doing some work. That morning I got up and I spent about 4 hours doing my research, and then I had to drive out there, inspect the property, and drive back home. So that's all of that I'm including in my working time. So what happened is when I got out there, the property was like there was still scaffolding on the side of the home. Like it was a complete construction site, you guys. There was no way I could get around there, measure, or do any of that. I just basically had to take as many pictures as I could. And mind you, we're still going through the COVID-19 situation. So there's construction workers in there. I have to stay away from them. They have to, we kind of have to keep our social distance you know, even while working. So that made it even more of a challenge. So just kind of want to give you the background of what happened before I went out and looked at the property, and then I'll show you, we'll cut to the video of me going out, and there's some discussion in there, and then I will come back and talk about what I had to do once I got back home. Okay, so thank you guys, check it out. Hey you guys, it's Tiffy Hustle. I'm back with another YouTube video. So I thought today I would try to do like a little ride along. Now it's going to be difficult because I'm not going to be able to show you the property itself because it is under contract. So I won't be able to do that, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of what my day is like. So I'm kind of getting started a little late here. It's about 11 o'clock Central Time. I got up at about 6:30 just to get my son fed and to start working. So what I did, I had spent a couple of days because this is one of the luxury properties. So I've spent half of Friday evening and then this morning just kind of doing my research on the property. So what you want to do when you first get appraisal requests, you're going to do research on the property. You know, you're going to try to find that property's market area. This is a little further out from me on a different side of town. I live in Katy, Texas. I'm headed to Tomball, so it's a different market. So kind of do some research on that market. I'm familiar with the market because I do a lot of appraisals in that area. However, this is it's going to be $1 million plus home. So upwards of $1 million. I have an idea of what the value is. But so that's one of the reasons why you do the research, because you're going to want to have an idea of what the value is before you go out there and you do an interior appraisal. Now, there are conditions to that, because the thing is, once you go inside the property, you may notice, you know, some things that bring value to the home that are not in other homes in the area, and that may cause you to have to go back to the drawing board and maybe find one other property that's similar. There could be just something very unique about the property. My point is, you're not going to know everything before you get into the house, especially when you're doing an interior. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of see what my day is like, and just kind of get an idea if this is, again, something that you really want to do. So I'm going to head out. I'm going to drive. It's probably going to take me about an hour to get over there, honestly. So in between, I'll kind of just talk to you guys about some of the things I'm thinking. I know that this property, it's like about a half an acre's lot. So I'm knowing that it's already 88 degrees outside, which is one of the reasons why I should have started earlier. But you know what? In Houston, it's hot anyway. And I ran this morning and it was already hot at like 8 o'clock. So I did some research. So yeah, so my day. So I did some research from about, I want to say 7 to 8:30. And then I did a quick run. For me, it's always good, therapeutic, and it's always good and therapeutic for me to get some exercise, some activity in, especially when you're working from home. It can get a little mundane, if you will, you know what I mean? So I have to have an outlet. So that's my outlet. I don't always get a chance to go to the gym. I may be too busy with the kids or whatever. So being able to just come outside, do a quick run, 30 minutes, you know, a couple miles or so. And then I came in, showered. I had already printed out everything I needed, grabbed some breakfast, grabbed some water, went back through, make sure I didn't get any emails in the meantime and in between time. And I also had another appraisal to schedule for Wednesday. So that brings us to here. We are in the car about to go. I have my comparables. So that's another thing. When you're doing your research to find comparable properties in the neighborhood. Like I said, You may find something when you get in there that, man, I don't have a comparable for that, but that's why you bring your laptop. So if you do find something unique, you can kind of just sit in the car and say, hey, let me try to see if I can find something like this while I'm already out here. So I'm not doubling back, having to drive. Like I said, this is an hour away. So that's going to give me 2 hours drive time, you know, there and back home. So I don't want to waste too much time with this one. And I want to get this done as fast as possible. I'm hoping to have this report completed by Wednesday, completely turned in. It can take a little longer when you're doing a luxury property, just because there's so much detail. You want to describe that. You want to get all of that, all of the information you can in there to just kind of let them know that you're making an educated opinion of value. So, all right, you guys, I will check back in when I get over to the property. But yeah. Okay. So, sidebar, you guys. Okay. So this is a dilemma that I still haven't been able to solve. So, proper attire when appraising. That's like a big thing for me, because I'm kind of like, it's different from men to women. You know what I mean? Because my company, they want you to dress like business casual, or, you know, more of a business, especially if you're going somewhere. They probably, you know, you would probably want to have like a suit jacket on. But you know, we do a lot of outside work. That is kind of, I mean, like I said, I live in Houston, a warm, very humid climate, to where, I mean, I can't wear a 3-piece suit, you know, and try to appraise these properties. And then, honestly, women's business casual attire is not like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, it's not like bend and reach friendly. You know what I mean? Like, you're leaning all over, your midriff might be showing. I mean, like, you gotta bend. I mean, because sometimes you have to bend down, sometimes you have to reach up, sometimes you have to touch things. You're outside. It's hot. Like, I want to give you guys like an idea of like what's really happening, what's really going on. And I honestly would prefer to do appraisals in workout attire. Like, honestly, I mean, I know people are like, well, that's too tight, that doesn't look professional. But all in all, to be able to do the job accurately and, I mean, as comfortably as possible. I mean, you got to think about it. Sometimes I go properties and there's like, they haven't cut the grass in months. There's like grass up to my waist. I'm trying to, you know, be safe. You make sure I don't get bit by a bug or a snake. I mean, we're out. It's outside. Half of it is outside, and then the other half is taking pictures of the interior. And like I said, right now, luckily, I'm going to a property that's new construction, and it's in a, you know, it's in a luxury market, so it's well maintained. But that's not always the case. So, just something to think about. I don't know if anybody out there wants to, like, I don't know, just like start a petition to where us female appraisers, maybe we can kind of rethink the dress code a little bit, because it's like, I mean, come on now. I'm gonna be totally honest. If I'm going to a house that's like, not occupied, like owned by the bank, nobody's gonna be there, nobody's gonna see me. I may have to see the realtor just to open the door for me, which usually they just give you a code. I'm probably gonna wear something a little bit more comfortable, because it's too hard, and a lot of the times those are the ones that haven't been maintained. So you are dealing with high grass, you know. You may want to wear some rain boots, you know what I mean? You may want to. I went to a house, you guys, and thank goodness for my mother. She had one of those, I don't even know what you call it, those like mud suits where you like those guys that go fishing and they like stand out in the water. Like, she had one of those, and my mom is just like so clever. And it was way out, so I asked her to go with me because I didn't have anyone to go with me. And she brought that, and thank God that she did, because it was a property that was like in terrible condition. Again, overgrown. There was like snakes in the backyard. It was all muddy, and you guys, there was like mildew everywhere. I think this was like after the the hurricane, and I put that thing on, you guys. So yeah, that was just a little tidbit I wanted to add. Hey guys, so I'm still driving, but I did want to take a minute to kind of discuss the relationship between the realtor and the appraiser. So when you get an appraisal request, what's going to happen, if that property is not occupied and you're not like contacting the owner, you're probably going to have contact with a lot of realtors. And I would say these are actually valuable relationships, you guys. So I would say anytime you get a realtor contact, just, you know, maybe ask them, hey, can I keep your number? Just in case, you know, I have any questions for you. Realtors and appraisers should work together. You know, they should have a good professional relationship with each other. Just because you never know, you may end up having to go into a market that you're not familiar with, and you know, a agent may be able to give you some insight on that area. Sometimes there are listings that are not public, especially in Texas. We are a I forgot what the technical term for it is, but it's just basically they don't have to put all the information on the MLS, on the multiple listing service. They don't have to put all of the information on there. They're not required to put, you know, there's certain things that they're not required to put on there. So sometimes having that relationship with the realtor where they can kind of give you a little bit more insight as to what is going on with the real estate transaction, with the sale. Like sometimes there are like there'll be like commissions or like seller paid fees that maybe they don't mention on the MLS. It's just possible. So agents are a really good resource. So I just say keep that in mind, build that relationship. You always want to build a positive relationship with anyone that you come across. And with that being said, I was just going to say that, you know, when you get a appraisal request, sometimes you'll be contacting the realtor to schedule your appointment to look at the property. For instance, this home that I'm going to look at, it's still in the process of being built. So while I didn't have to meet with a realtor because there's probably going to be contractors here, and the house is probably like wide open. There's probably going to be contractors here. So when I get here, I won't have to meet with him. However, I did have to contact him to get all the information. So you want to get all the information you can when you're going to appraise a home from either the owner or the realtor. So, hey, asking those probing questions like, hey, what kind of condition is the home in? You know, have you seen it? Have you guys done any updates? You know, did it? If you're in Texas, did it flood? You know, has it flooded during Hurricane Harvey? Did it flood at all? Just asking those probing questions to kind of get all the information that you can. So that way, when you get there, you're not blindsided. Thankfully enough, I was able to get a lot of information via online before I even started to do my research. They sent a whole file over, which that's usually convenient, especially when it's a new construction. And you will get that a lot because they'll have all that information on hand from the contractor. They'll have all of that information. They just pretty much print you out a copy, email you over a copy. So that's helpful. So I got some good questions over the past couple of weeks about appraisal. First of all, on the last video, we talked a lot about how to get into that trainee space, how to start getting your license, and there's some information that I forgot to mention. So someone had contacted me that was from the state of Florida, and they were asking me about, you know, the licensing process, because there's a lot of mixed information out there regarding whether you need a bachelor's degree or whether you don't. So we're just going to kind of go back to that for a little bit. So a lot of states, you can start the trainee process without needing a degree. Okay, so you can get started with taking those courses, finding you a supervisor. You can do all of that without having a degree starting off. Let me just explain to you the amount of coursework that you have to take in order to become licensed you'll probably end up with a degree afterwards. So if you don't have a degree, don't feel like you're not in position to be an appraiser. What I would recommend, and what I have been recommending, there are universities, colleges out there that have real estate program. A lot of them offer the courses that will that will qualify you for your appraisal license. Okay, so I would just kind of do some research on schools in your area, accredited schools in your area, that will allow you to take those courses. Okay, now if you have questions about, okay, like what courses do I need to take, again, refer back to your state's appraisal licensing and certification board. Also, what I mentioned last time about McKissick, even if you decide you don't want to take the McKissick courses, you're welcome to go on there, click on your state. It'll give you the list of all of the courses that you need in order to get your license in your state. So if you write those down and you start looking at, okay, well, I want to go to school. Say you're just trying to do like a price comparison. Okay, maybe you're trying to decide of whether you're wanting to go to school and either like finish off your bachelor's, or you just want to straight take the McKissick courses. However you're trying to work that out, it gives you the opportunity to see the courses that you need. So use your resources. Like I said, it's going to take you a little bit of work. Excuse me, but you can get it done. And like I said, please reach out to me if you need any help. I will do my best to try to help you as fast as I can, with as much information as I can. I'm not an expert in every state, so sometimes I'm wrong, but I am the type of person that if I'm wrong, I'm going to email you back and say, hey, guess what? I was wrong last time. Here's the correct information. Okay. So again, use me as a resource as much as you can. I'll try to get any information to you that I can. Again, it's just information. You're going to have to apply it. So, I just kind of want to give you a heads up on that of just like, when you go into looking for the courses. So I would always suggest for somebody to not get discouraged if you don't have a bachelor's degree, but to it gives you the opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Go get your bachelor's while you're in process of being a trainee. Work that way, you can be working those hours. If you're able to get like financial aid, that will kind of help you kind of sustain some bills while you're also working the hours towards becoming an appraiser. You know what I mean? So it kind of gives you a little bit of extra time. Another thing I wanted to mention with the supervisor trainee relationship, you can have more than one supervisor. I know we kind of discussed it. It's kind of hard. Sometimes the hardest part is finding a supervisor, but guess what? If you find two or you find multiple, just say that, you're working with somebody, but they're kind of busy. They have other things. Like I said, a lot of appraisers are like attorneys. Some of them are real estate agents. Some of them, they do other things. But if you can, as long as you get the hours, the total amount of hours you need, you don't have to just work with one person. Now, again, all of your supervisors will have to be certified supervisors, which means they will have to, take the class and have proof of taking that class through the state. And they have to sign up through the state as your supervisor. And they know what that process is. You don't have to explain that to them. They know how to do it. If they don't know how to do it, you guys will have to learn together, because it's a different process for each state. That's one of those things I won't get into much detail about. But yeah, just wanted to give you a heads up on that. If you're having an issue to where you have a supervisor that you feel like, okay, I'm not able to get enough work done with this person, find somebody else. So that's why I would suggest having multiple people on your contact list to say, hey, I need to get my hours. You know what I mean? But again, the first things first is the courses. You really got to get through these courses. You got to get through these courses so that you can sign up to be a trainee, and you can apply yourself to be able to find a supervisor. So another thing I wanted to mention, when we talked about the pros and cons last time, I feel like I forgot a couple of things. So I got a question this week, a couple weeks ago, about being a realtor and if it will give you an upper hand and with trying to become an appraiser. I will never try to talk someone out of making the best out of their life. You know what I mean? The more information, to me, knowledge is power. So the more information you can gain, that's great. And if you're already a realtor, that's great. I do, however, want you to know and understand that I would not suggest just going to get a realtor's license if you have no intention on selling properties. Here's why. There are fees attached to that license, okay? To maintain it, there's fees. In order to actually have an active license, you're going to need to be under a broker. That your broker is probably going to have fees unless you can find somebody who's, only charges a fee with transaction. So they kind of just let your license sit there. So I wouldn't suggest it. Some of the courses are the same. There's like 2 or 3 courses that appraisers take and realtors take also. So that may help, but I would you don't have to go that route, is what I'm saying. You're actually probably spending more money if you try to do one first as opposed to just focusing on appraisal. Okay, now if you have all intentions on selling, do that. I would suggest it. Now this is coming from a person who has a realtor's license, took all those exams and is paying to maintain their license as well as become an appraiser. Now, along with that, I wanted to mention that it's also one of the downfalls of when we talked about working for a company and being a staff appraiser. I work for the bank. We mentioned that, you know what I mean? So I cannot, due to a conflict of interest, I cannot be a realtor. So that's a restraint on me, I'm not allowed to be a realtor because as a realtor, you have involvement with financing. And if I have a client, or if I'm working with a client that's not using the bank that I work for, that's a conflict of interest. So when you think about maximizing your potential and, I guess for me, one thing that's important for me is freedom. I do not like being in a situation where I'm restricted in certain areas. But I'm always going to be open and honest with you guys about the pros and cons of making the decision to work for a company or not, and to work for specifically a bank or not. But that is a restraint on me because that's an additional, that isn't like an additional stream of income that I'm missing out on because I literally cannot do it. So keep that in mind. When you get a staff appraiser position, you're going to be signing on for there are certain things that you cannot do. Maybe you cannot do independent appraisals. Maybe you like I said, you work for a bank, you cannot do certain things like prepare taxes and offer, like say you had like a tax business on the side, and if you offer bank products, that's a conflict of interest. There's just a lot of things, you know what I mean? So I'm always just mindful of that because in order to build wealth, I'm a firm believer that you need multiple streams of income. Hey you guys, so I also wanted to kind of talk about the appraisal world as we are right now with this whole COVID-19 situation. I know a lot of people had questions about well, how am I supposed to get with a supervisor and do all of these things if we're social distancing, if we should be, a lot of places are still, under the stay-at-home safe regulation right now. Houston has opened back up, but even still. So even through the whole thing, I've been working. The only reason why some of my work slowed down, but if I still had to do appraisals, they were still getting done. So I just kind of want to make you guys aware that even supervision can be done, online, Zoom. To me, this is the perfect field to be in, to where you can work, while social distancing, just because a lot of your supervision is going to be just being able to be taught how to fill out the forms is one of the number one thing. A lot of appraisal techniques your supervisor will be able to teach you. And then if you think about it, even if you do a drive along or a ride along, or you meet up with your supervisor at a property, it's just the two of you. It should be just the two of you. If you're going to a property that's occupied, like I said, my company, we are not doing interior inspections at this time on properties that are occupied. I've heard that some people still are. I don't know anything about that or how that goes. But then I will be honest, 80% of my workload is drive-by inspections, right? So what that means, today I'm not doing a drive-by inspection, but hopefully here soon I'll be able to show you guys how one of those works. You don't even go in the property. You just kind of discreetly drive past the property and take a picture. Just like you're going to do the comparable sales when you're doing an interior appraisal. So how it works is you find, your assigned property is the property that you're trying to find the value for. So then you're going to find comparable sales, whether they're sales that have been completed or like current listings, to show what the value for that property is with making adjustments. And I won't get too detailed into that because I don't want to. It's a detailed process when you talk about making adjustments, because there's different types of adjustments that you can make. But the point is, just to kind of give you guys an overview of the process, is, like I said, 80% of the time I am doing drive-by inspection. So I'm just driving by, snapping a picture of the front of the house, snapping a picture of the street it's on to just kind of give you an idea of the atmosphere. And that's it. Like, I don't have to come in contact with anyone. There are days and weeks and sometimes months where I have like zero contact with anyone outside of maybe the phone. Like that's that's the nature of my work. So yes, you can get your supervision hours done. Your supervisor, they can take you out a couple of times to show you, how to measure a house or
in 1 mile, turn left onto Huffsmith Corville Road.
Or how to do the drive-by inspection. But then after that, they can just say, hey, go to this property, do this, and, just kind of go online, go through the form and the process with you via Zoom, via conference call, step by step. You send them the information, they send you the corrections. Like I said, this is like the ideal position for social distancing. I love it. Like I said, I was just one of those people that goes crazy in a cubicle. I can't stand it. Can't stand doing the same thing every day. I don't know. I may have a little bit of ADHD. I don't know. I've never been checked for stuff like that, but I know I've always had a hard time concentrating when I work in those environments. I mean, very hard time. Very, very, very hard time. So, yeah, please don't let that discourage you. Please don't let what we got.
Go past this light, right, then at the next one, turn left.
Discourage you from trying to get your appraisal license, because you can do it.
In 2.8 miles, turn right onto Boudreaux Road.
Like I said, I decided to do these videos while this was going on because I saw an even bigger need. Just because, I've been wanting to do this for like over a year now, but I was always so discouraged because I was like, maybe just nobody wants to be an appraiser. Maybe I'm just weird and I'm like the only person that enjoys doing this, and maybe that's the reason why. Or maybe you know what I mean, people seem like they're so happy doing different things, so I'm like, maybe there's not a need out there for it. But I'm glad I went ahead and took the leap to do it, because like I said, I'm finally getting feedback of people saying, no, this is something that I've been interested in, I just didn't know how. So yes, please don't let this COVID-19 situation and the uncertainty of the future discourage you from getting your appraisal license, because like I said, I think we are probably better off than a lot of other positions. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Okay, y'all, so I made a wrong turn, so I'm still not there. So just wanted to kind of go through like a couple of things that you're going to want to have when you're out doing an inspection. I have a tape measure. Now, this is not like your regular size tape measure. It's like the giant tape measure, because you're actually can physically measure the house with it. I also have a laser tape measure.
At the next light, turn right.
I use that, but I kind of prefer the old school because you're more accurate. The laser is supposed to be
At the light, turn right onto Boudreaux Road.
But it's like, in order to use the laser, it has to, it can't be super bright to where you can't see it, and it has to bounce off of something in order for you to measure it, right? So I spend so much time trying to backtrack myself to make sure that I'm accurate, that I feel like the dang tape measure is just, it's more accurate. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. So I still use my tape measure. My bad. I thought this guy behind me was coming up, was about to rear end me. I still use my tape measure. It works good for me. Sometimes when I have to do things and there's like interior walls, or, you know, something that's like a short room or something like that, I will use the laser, because then it'll be quicker for me. I bring some pencils, some pens. I use graph paper to sketch out. I always like to sketch out my property, like measure and sketch it, because there's computer software that you use where you're going to put it into the computer. However, it's just, again, for accuracy purposes, it feels as though it's more beneficial to sketch it out and then put it in the computer. That way, if you missed anything, like, you know what you did wrong, you didn't forget anything. It's hard to just sit there and put it in the computer while you're measuring. It's just a lot of work. Hey, you guys, so I made it to the property. So here's the thing, there looks like there's a lot of contractors in here. So I'm probably not gonna do like a full inspection. And it's not finished. They said they're about 60 days out. So it may not even be safe enough for me to be just walking around. You know, not only just COVID-19 concerns, but just actual, you know, safety concerns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go speak to some of the contractors, kind of get a feel, take some very good pictures. Like I said, they sent me a lot of information on this property. So I am able to kind of gather everything from that. I know they're building a pool right now. But just want to give you guys an update of what's going on. As you can see, I have my mask on. I'm wearing some gloves just because, you know, they have like a porta john out here. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it's clean because it's new construction, but then you got to take in consideration that there are other people here. You know what I mean? And we just want everybody to be safe. It's no, you know, nothing against the contractors or anything. But yeah, I'm gonna take some pictures, do some measurements, do what I can, and take all the information I have and go home and finish up and write the appraisal. This is a big area. I should be able to take pictures of comps, but it took me a long time. It took me a long time to get in here because this neighborhood is like sectioned off. It's a really upscale kind of like golf course neighborhood. So like they have it cut off in sections, and I went to the main gate and somebody told me I need to go to the construction gate because this area is like just being finished. So blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm gonna get this done as fast as I can, you know, and efficiently as I can. And then I'm gonna head and take the pictures of the comp. So just kind of wanted to give you guys an update of what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now. So, like I said, I really wasn't able to do much at all because it's really like a shell of a property right now. Like they have the exterior for the most part done, but like they're still working on the flooring. Like there was areas where there was tile, so I wasn't able to walk in those rooms. Now, usually when you do an appraisal, you want to get a picture of every room, every bathroom, every closet. Like, you want to be able to make sure that like everything matches up with what's on the MLS and what's on the tax records, as far as how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, are there any leaks. You're looking for, it's kind of different when you get in the luxury home market. You're looking for all of that stuff, but the homes are generally well maintained. So you're kind of looking for like the unique aspects when you're looking at luxury properties, because you know it's going to be well taken care of. Probably not necessarily going to be any leaks. Could be, but just not necessarily. No major damage. So you're looking for the things that stands out and makes it like an above average luxury home. When you're kind of like in the average range, just everyday type home, then you kind of start looking for more, making sure that things are functional and that there is no damage and just different things like that. So when I came in here and I'm trying to look for, things that stand out, I can't look for those things because, like, for instance, there's no granite countertops. Like, there's nothing in there yet. Like, there's no toilets. So just everything is just like the rough ends, because they have a couple of months before they're going to be done with this property. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what to look for. One thing I can say is this home has a really expensive roof. And like, which is normal for the area. I see some slate roofs and some tile roofs. This one actually has a metal roof, which can be really expensive for our market. Tile roofs are really expensive as well, just because they're so heavy and so hard to like keep in place, and they break so easily. But again, great bones, definitely modern luxury appeal. They are still building the pool in the backyard. I literally, you guys, walked through maybe 10 minutes and just kind of introduced myself. That was another thing. So we're not supposed to be like doing appraisals with like where there's too many people. There's a lot of people in this house working because it's a huge house. And that's another thing. So just safety for me as well as safety for them. I just kind of walked through and took pictures. Of areas that I could. 10 minutes, hurry up, got in there and got out, because and there wasn't even any point of me like completing the measurements, because they're not done. They're not done with the space. So for this particular appraisal, I'm gonna have to go based off of the builder's measurements, because they sent me that over. So I'm gonna have to use that, because I wasn't really able to measure it. Like, there's paint on the walls. You don't want to go scuffing up walls or trying to, it was just too much. So that's where I am with that. Now I'm gonna go around and look for these comparable properties that I had already found before I left the house, take a picture of those, and then head on my way back to the house, because I planned on doing this one for the whole day. So I'll go back to the house and start finishing typing up the report. Okay, so went out there, saw the property, saw the unique situation that I was dealing with, came back to the house. So at this point, I just want to tell you, while I'm doing my research, I'm also filling out the actual appraisal report. All the information I'm getting in, I'm putting in that report. So basically, once I go out and I come back in, all I have to do is, I've already found my comparables before I've left, right? So comparable properties are basically usually recent sales in the area that I can use to justify the value of the home. So once I've done all that, so when I get back in, I'm basically just writing the description of, what the comparables look like, what the property looked like, what condition it was in, giving all that information, and then, being able to coming out with that final value, and just wrapping the whole appraisal up, and it with a summary of explaining why these are the comparable sales I used. And so it kind of goes into detail. I don't want to go into too much detail, because if you're not an appraiser, there's still a lot you have to learn. But Yes, so that's basically what a day looks like, okay? Um, there, like I said, this one was unique. It was pretty difficult. I also had to do what we call the cost approach, which actually breaks down the cost of building the home, and that's one way to come up with a value is to do the cost approach. So it's like literally counting every every stud, every every nail, every brick. It's literally putting all of that together and assessing the value based on the cost of the property. So I did that. I got the file turned in. So I would say all in all, that particular file probably took me about at least 14 hours. It did. It was a lot of work just because I got out there expecting one thing, and this will happen. It's common. You get out there and you expect one thing, and then it turns out to be different. And it happens a lot just because even with the amount of time that I've been an appraiser, I work all over Houston. So there are some areas that I'm very familiar with. So it's like if I get a home in that neighborhood, I'm like, okay, I know this for sure. But this time, this is an area that I'm familiar with. However, that particular neighborhood, that particular subdivision, I'm not that familiar with. So I had to do, even more research. So as time goes on, you'll get to know your area, you'll get to know your market, and things will be a lot quicker. But this was just a unique situation that I wanted to share with you guys, and, just to kind of give you an idea. Now, I did want to go back and talk about some things that I spoke about in my previous videos. So the biggest thing right now, I guess, that I'm getting questions on is supervisor. Finding a supervisor is one, and then the education hours. So again, one, I encourage you guys, I appreciate everybody watching my videos, but I really want this to just be like a starting place for you guys. But you do know you still have to go out and do your own research. As I said before, again, I don't mind answering any questions or helping anyone with any information that I can help you with. However, every state is different, you guys. So I'm not going to know the laws and the rules and the regulations for each state, right? So you have to go and research that information on your own. I have no problem if you go and look up your state's appraisal licensing and certification board. If you look them up and say you're looking at it but you don't understand what it's saying, I have no problem with you emailing me and asking me, can I clarify this for you? Because I will be more than happy to read through it and try to help you understand it as best as I can. However, you want to make sure you start there because every state is different, even with the education requirements. So I'm seeing that some states, in order to be a licensed appraiser, you're not required to, some states, you're not required to have a bachelor's degree, but most of them at least require you to have the hours of an associate's degree. Okay, so I did have some people reach out to me that were straight out of high school or about to be out of high school, no college. You just want to, I'm not saying it's not possible, but you just want to make sure you check with your state to see, what amount of education hours you need. My thing that I always encourage people to do is that, look, if you haven't started college or if you're in college, or if you're looking to go to college, try to find a school that that has a usually in the finance department, there'll be they'll be a real estate, they have some sort of real estate degree plan. Some of those courses you can knock out some of the hours that goes along with your appraisal hours. So if you're really interested in doing that, if you're really interested in real estate, I would recommend maybe, you pretty much carving out your degree plan to where you can take some of those courses, because that will help you. You don't have to take all the classes at one place. You could take a class at one school, a class at another school. You can do it however it works for you, but you have to get those hours in first, okay? So you have to get those hours in first before you can be considered a trainee, right? So, and when I say considered a trainee, I mean, you know, sending all of your information up to the state, and for them to look at it and verify whether you're eligible to be a trainee, okay? So you need those education hours. And now, secondly, the finding a supervisor. I've really been trying to dig in deep these last few weeks and look up information on trying to resources of trying to find a supervisor. I've come across some interesting things. So I'm seeing a lot of appraisal companies have what they call like appraisal assistants. And I think based off of the job description in a lot of areas, it's where you can pretty much type up the reports for the appraiser. So I'm assuming that these are appraisers that have like a heavy workload and they need assistance. That will be a great way for one to get their foot in the door and be an appraiser, okay? Because you get to work side by side. You can you know, reach out to them and let them know, hey, my goal is to become an appraiser, you know. So if you know, doing this assistant work, I would like to also be able to get my experience hours in if possible. It'd be very helpful. You have to think of ways, you want to think of ways to, you know, attract people to you. You know, when I say that, I'm saying that to say, like, you don't want to go to a supervisor or to anyone in any business transaction, always you being the one with your hands out. I need a supervisor. I need your help. You know, think about what you can offer. I mentioned before, and this is just a thought of mine, but I mentioned before that a lot of the appraisers, the average appraiser's age is like 55 and up. So think about what benefit you can add to a person if you're asking them for help. So maybe this appraiser, he's a great appraiser, but maybe he doesn't really have the tech skills that you have with, you know, managing and working their social media. Maybe they want more of a social media presence and they don't know how to do that, but maybe you're an expert at that. So just think about small things that you can bring to the table when you're asking someone to help, you know. And like I said, and that goes for any business transaction. You always want to be of value. You always want people to see you and say, okay, this is a person that adds value. They're not just a liability. So that's just a thought. But yes, so again, the two routes we talked about of being a trainee for a company, which is possible. Like I said, there's a lot of banks out there that offer trainees. There's some appraisal companies that are also seeking trainees. With that track, they will pretty much put you right through the education, the supervisor, everything is packaged. How, you know, again, but we talked about, however, that's you working for a company. If you want to work on your own as an independent appraiser, again, you're going to have to come through the mud by yourself, pretty much, get all your education in, take all your courses, find you a supervisor, partner with them, and finish your experience hours and take your exam, okay? There's a lot in between there. There are some exams in between there for the courses that you take. A lot of them are going to have, you know, an exam at the end just to assess your knowledge and to make sure that you understood the material. So there are exams at the end of each course that you take as well. But the big exam is the licensing. Again, keep the emails, keep the feedback coming. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see, want to know. I'm going to continue to keep making videos for as long as I keep getting feedback. I'm going to keep making videos on this. So please don't hesitate, like I always say, to reach out to me, either whether it's via email or I've had people reach out to me through Instagram. It's at Tiffy_hustle on IG. So reach out to me there. But yes, I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you continue to do well. And have a good day.